Carl here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, and it's my pleasure to introduce an interview we conducted with the alternative rock four-piece Dohny Jep, whose brand new EP Smile, It Might Never Happen, is due for release on February 26, 2021 via Favour the Brave Records. The EP explores the subjects of mental health, friendship and letting go of the negatives in your life and living in the moment. Please sit back and enjoy the interview.
But gents, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. First things first then, it's the elephant in the room. Can't start any interview without it. Individually, starting with yourself, Rowan. How have you been holding up over the last 12 months now that we live in the COVID times?
Pretty good, actually. Like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home, so it's not really had too much of an impact. And also with regards to the band, like we're all fortunate enough to be able to own equipment where we can record everything that we need to. As you could probably see in the background, there's my drum kit. So yeah, it can literally record into a laptop and then we can all sort of have our input that way. And where I live as well is sort of nice enough walks and stuff so I can get out. So it sucks not being able to meet up with everyone, but I think we're quite lucky in our position as well.
Cool. Yourself, Pete?
Yeah, so my day job is in retail. So, work has been all right, if not, massively busy. Other than that, I've coped fine, really. I never really was one to be out and about all the time. So I've been training for this for like the last 35 years of my life, it's all good.
Well, you are one of the unsung heroes of this period, retail. The forgotten lot almost.
Yeah.
And what about you, Stuart? How have you been coping?
A lot of crying and drinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, much like a lot of people, yeah. You kind of just got to make the best of it, which we have been doing with recording and writing and stuff. Because we could have sat around for a year kind of moping about and we wouldn't be any further along, but we were like, cool, let's try and make the most of this and do as much, I hate saying the word behind the scenes, but doing as much as possible, not in front of the scenes. There we go.
And coming back to you, Rowan, then, has it always been easy to stay in this positive mindset that you suggest you've been in? And what if anything has kind of helped you keep focus?
As Stu probably knows, I'm quite a positive person. I've always sort of had quite a positive mindset, to be honest. Like going back with like previous bands and stuff, there's a lot of doubt with certain things, but I'd always be there, be like, finding the best, the best of an outcome sort of thing. And what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
Well, what if anything has helped you stay in that mindset?
I'm not really too sure. I think it's just finding the right balance of everything, and then also having like people to support you when needed as well. Like I said, we do the Zoom calls. We try and do them weekly, which like really helps keep the band going. And then obviously you can Zoom call with your friends still. So I think it's making sure you still have that connection with people that really helps.
Also, like Pete was saying, how he was training all his life for not going outside. Rowan's been training all his life to be a really positive person.
Yeah.
Painfully optimistic.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is a nice trait. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you carry on then, Stuart. What about you?
Pretty much the same as the first answer. A lot of crying and drinking.
What did you think of choice then?
I go everything really. I like a good bit of whiskey. I drink a lot of wine and beer. I'm not a massive cider guy, so I would say probably beer is like a staple of my weekly diet. And that has only got worse, the fact that I'm stuck inside with people. I like the people I live with, don't get me wrong, It's just we don't have a very we don't have a very big house, so it's like, you know, you can hear people sneezing from 3 floors away,
scratching their ass.
Yeah,
no, I get that. You used to be able to at least get out occasionally if you needed that break, and now you can't.
Yeah. I mean, I work outside. I'm a window cleaner, so like I've not really been working the last few days because of the snow.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
still
cool.
stuck inside, crying and drinking.
All right, Pete, what about you?
Well, yeah. So whiskey has become my favourite drink of choice since all this. Used to be cider, or you know, just something a bit plainer than that. But yeah, whiskey is definitely.
I don't think that was the question.
It's highlighted whatever that bottle is. That bottle over your shoulder.
Yeah, songwriting. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah, this bad boy. Got this today. Trying it out. Very nice. Cool. Very nice.
Okay.
But yeah, songwriting has you know, been the main kind of crutch for me, really, because I love writing lyrics and stuff like that. Even if there's not music to it, you know, it's almost like, I don't know, writing a poem or something, isn't it? So if something's getting you down on one day or whatever, like, you know, I've had enough of tearing up cardboard at work or whatever, I'll write about it, you know.
When you do
so songwriting. Yeah.
So when you do that, then do you is it a matter of, okay, well, like say you've expressed yourself in some lyrical form, do you put it to the side, effectively put it in a folder and think, well, hey, in a couple of years' time I might come back to that and we might have some music to go with it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I have got a notepad full, like, over years and years, like in different bands and stuff like that. If I've got a line in my head that I think, oh, that's kind of nice sounding or whatever, I do jot it down. A lot of the time I never actually end up going back to it, but you know, there have been things in the past where I think, oh, that might work in this song now, so we try it. It normally does get adapted and changed, though. Even if, you know, we go in with the idea that I've got, it might not be the same by the end of it.
Yeah.
But it was still the thing that helped kind of accelerate the you know, the end result.
No, that's cool. Well, obviously, I mean, many, if not all bands have been affected by the restrictions that have been placed worldwide since last year. However, you guys, man, you barely got moving before everything ground to a halt. Who wants to effectively describe what that situation was like for you? And did it kind of, dare I say, grounding to a halt so suddenly, did it make you go, okay, maybe this isn't supposed to be?
I'll take this on if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, cool.
So this was before Rowan and Wayne joined. I've known Rowan and Wayne for years. We went to uni together. So Pete and I had been writing. So we finished our first album, Lust, which was only out like last July.
Yeah.
And we had PR all set up for it. We basically paid the PR, and then we were told that we were going into a lockdown. So we were like, have we just wasted the money for this PR? But we're like, well, what else are we going to do if we don't put this album out and push? We're going to be sat here 2 years from now or a year from now with an album that's technically out of date from how we're writing. So we were like, you know, we've put all the money and effort in now, we'll just put it out and see what happens. And we did a lot of kind of promoting of it. I mean, at the time we were still kind of a bit, is it wet behind the ears? Is that the saying? Where we were like just kind of making it up as we go along. Yeah. Since then, we're working with quite a lot of like people in our team that know a lot more about it than us, and they advise us. But back then, yeah, we were doing it all ourselves. So we were like, oh no, what have we done? But it was sort of already in motion before we could kind of take it out of motion. Like it had already been sent out to all of the, you know, the publicists and stuff. So we were trying to just make the most of it. Just did as many music videos from home as we could, and as much content as we could, and push the songs out to as many like Spotify playlisters as we could, because that's our kind of platform of choice to get our music out.
Yeah.
And the numbers reflect quite well, obviously, all the hard work we did. And we did manage to do one gig in August, which was a friend of Pete's has an events company, and it was his birthday. So he put on a big thing outside, like a stage and like proper sound and stuff. And we were the only full band playing because everyone else had done an acoustic kind kind of variant of their normal set. But we were like, well, this is our only gig this year, probably. We're going to do this properly. And we'd been in the practice room since we could, getting the live show perfected. So we were like, we might as well make the most of this one show we're going to do. And it was really good fun. It was just a bit disheartening that we were like coming off of that high of the album out and playing that one show. And that was sort of all we could do. So we just channeled that into writing more music, which is why we're putting out an EP so soon after our album.
Okay. Were you concerned at any point that you were obviously unable to capitalize on that debut release? It's called Lust, of course. And were you ever thinking as months went by, okay, well, maybe by the end of 2020, we'll be able to get out and tour it. We'll be able to get out and tour it and stuff like that. Or was it literally, we're probably going to have to move this one to the back and keep moving forward at the same time?
I mean, I don't think we ever really made the decision to move Lust out of the way. Like classic Rowan, we were being very optimistic and we were trying to be as positive as possible. So we had a few tours in the process of being booked, as well as this year as well. Like February, we were supposed to be doing one, and God knows what it's going to be like in April. But we had about 6 or 7 weekenders booked, or in the process of being booked throughout the year for touring, which we were going to then kind of cycle the set list to play the old album and play the newest stuff, because it's sort of a blessing and a curse that we're new, that people will not know any of our songs unless they know who we are. So we can play our old album and people will hear it first, like it's new to them, and we can play our new EP and it's new to them as well. So we can all just mash it together. Partly the good thing about us having so many songs now is that we have so much to choose from. We can, in theory, if we want to change the set as often as we like. I'd rather have too many songs to choose from than not enough. Because previous bands Rowan and I were in a band before this, and we didn't have that many songs. So it would be the same set every night. And if we were playing locally, people just, I assume, get bored of hearing the same songs in the same order. We've always tried to be positive and optimistic about this. And we were kind of going, oh yeah, maybe at the end of the year. And even this year, I'm saying, oh, maybe at the end of the year we could play some shows, but no one knows. Even the people who say they know don't know. We just kind of play it by ear. As soon as the got a green light to play some shows, we're just going to be asking every favor, pulling in every favor we've ever got to try and get some shows and go around the country, basically.
Well, on that front, sorry, Ron, go on.
I was just to say, I don't think it really dwindled in it too much. I think it was quite a smooth transition from us sort of booking the shows and then actually going from lockdown. We were just like, you know what, let's just continue writing. And that's been the main focus, really. We've not really kind of been put off by the whole not being able to play live.
So what was it? Was it literally a discussion amongst you as a unit where it was like, well, look, we've got nothing to do, we write? Was that as simple as that?
Some of the songs that are on this EP, we had actually written almost, so we obviously finished Lust and then sent that all off to get done, and then that didn't come out for a few months. And in those few months, we were already writing for the next thing. So we got like a home studio, Pete and I, and we do all of the recordings here, and then we send them off to Reese May, who's a very good producer who basically makes us sound much better than we are, which I guess is the job of a producer. But no, personally, I think we all did kind of wallow a little bit in self-pity, being not able to play shows. But I think we kind of were just like, well, what we can't do anything about this. So we just decided this year that to just put out or write and put out as many songs as we physically can, just to kind of stay in people's faces. There's a lot of bands that aren't doing that or don't have the option to do that. So I feel like when we actually come out of this pandemic, we're probably going to be, even a little bit further ahead. Who knows? But we've got an advantage. We're kind of making the most of a bad situation.
It's fascinating that you went down that route, because there seems to be an expectation, almost pressure on bands at the moment, where it's kind of like, well, you're not doing anything, you're not out live, you best be writing. So the next year or two, everyone should be putting out new music. Obviously, that wasn't the case for you guys. I guess does that make for a more relaxing environment where you're not getting that pressure?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, no one is really telling us what to do or not. I mean, we're so organized in the sense of we do everything in so far in advance that nothing's ever left to the last minute, because we're, without clicheing things, we're kind of putting all our eggs in this basket. We really want to succeed, so it's like we're trying to just plan ahead. We've got a couple of year plan, and if we can put out as much music as possible, then we'll hopefully make an impact on people. We didn't really write because we felt like we had to, or we were obliged to because of the lockdown. It was just sort of something we were already doing. I mean, Pete and I have been writing
just
together
very
for years
natural
now.
for us, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just carrying on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we would have done this anyway. Maybe to not the quantity that we've done if we were out touring, but I've got a laptop. We can record on the road if we have come up with an idea, and then we email all of our, we Dropbox it to our producer. So if we write a good song on the road, as long as it is recorded well, we can send that to him, and we're not really hindered by that. So we have written a lot of songs, but we probably would have written a lot of songs even if we were gigging.
Fair point. So obviously the EP Smile It Might Never Happen, out on February 26, 2021. In your individual opinions then, how closely aligned do you think the EP is to Lust, both musically and theme-wise? Who wants to go? Rowan?
Sure. I mean, I wasn't involved in Lust because that was basically all done before I sort of came aboard, sort of thing, and joined the band.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's definitely going back to Lust. I definitely think the new material is more aligned with who we are as a band, and you can really tell the styles developed more. And I think in terms of just songwriting and musically as well, it just sounds like so much better. It's more of a true representation, I think, of who we are. And I think generally it's just better overall as well.
Okay. Yourself, Pete?
Yeah, so I think, like Rowan says, when those guys came on board, it definitely did give a better representation to what our sound is sort of capable of. When Stuart and I started writing, I can't even remember when we actually started writing together, because we were in a sort of a mathcore sort of band briefly before that, which was interesting. And we thought, we want to do pop music because we like pop music, sort of pop and rock sort of thing. So I think just as we've been writing and constantly, demoing all these different things, that sound has just developed. And when Wayne and Rowan come on board, it bettered it even more. So that I've kind of gone off track of the actual initial question. I like to ramble.
No worries. It's just really how closely aligned that you think the EP is, both with theme-wise and music.
Yeah. So theme-wise, I guess, I mean, each track generally has its own kind of vibe. A lot of our tracks do, kind of go around mental health. So I guess in some ways it is kind of closely aligned in that way, but each track does have its own sort of vibe as well. So yeah, musically definitely bettered, and theme-wise similar-ish, but again, it's just developed.
That's cool. What about you, Stuart? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a definite theme with the lyrics, because we have written about mental health. We've also written quite a few songs about us hating our jobs. Even, I mean, coming out soon, there's a couple, and Dreamer on Lust was basically about that. It was like loosely about that. It was sort of about not giving up on your dreams, but kind of thinking, should I give up on my dreams? Which, obviously the answer is no. you shouldn't give up on your dreams, kids.
Of course.
Musically, as Rowan was saying, they weren't involved with Lust. I mean, if we're talking about drums specifically, the drums were written by Reese for the first album. So they were very practical, if that makes sense. They kind of did exactly what the drums needed to do for the song. They weren't very flashy. Whereas Rowan is probably the best drummer I've ever seen play drums. You can hear his personality come through with the songs. So, I mean, even if you were to go back and listen to some of the songs from Lust and then listen to the new songs, even if you were just listening at drums, you would hear the progression. It's still got a familiar sound because it's produced the same way, and you know, it's got that epic kind of like big stadium rock sound. But that, you know, regarding drums, definitely. And then I'm one of the guitarists, and obviously I wrote the guitars for the first album entirely because Wayne wasn't on board at that point.
Yeah.
But Wayne is also one of the best guitarists I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So we're very fortunate to have these two people in the band with us now. And some of the stuff he comes up with is really complementary to some of the stuff I've written. Or if he's come up with a riff, I will work a way around putting that into a song, because usually the riffs he writes are amazing. So I think the four of us have sort of like, we've achieved our final form now of a band. I mean, I write some pretty good riffs as well. So does Pete, and so does Rowan, actually. So, you know, we're all just working off each other. It's a group effort. So yeah, there is a connection. Just to go back to what the actual question was, there is a connection, but I feel like this stuff is better. And I guess hopefully in years to come, I can listen back to Lust and be absolutely disgusted by it based on the stuff we're writing now.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? The goal is always you're only as good as your last release. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Rowan, specifically for you then, as you're the one of the two that joined at a later date, what interested you? What made you go, yep, you know what, I want to be part of this band?
I mean, when Stu asks you, you can't say no. And to be honest, it's like what they were doing. Like when I first heard the previous release, like when I first heard Lust, I was like, oh, this is like really cool. And I mean, previously we were in sort of like a metal band, so it's like quite technical drumming. Whereas this is a bit more chilled out, a bit more. It's sort of like modern day kind of Bring Me the Horizon sort of thing. It's kind of like really enjoyable. I wouldn't be completely dripping with sweat at the end of a practice or an end of a gig kind of thing. It's like that kind of nice balance. And musically as well, it's just compared to other bands and the other local bands, I definitely think that in terms of like the production and the songwriting is on another level. I mean, not to like kind of be like big-headed or anything, but I am a fan of our own music, if that makes sense. And I just really enjoy it. I just really
enough
enjoy
to listen to it.
Yeah. Honestly, I do. I'll play it on my laptop while I'm working, etc. So I think if you're a fan of your own music, then why wouldn't you kind of want to be part of that, you know?
I think that's awesome. So you did touch upon what the EP explores, subjects of mental health, friendship, negatives in life and stuff like that. Did the inspiration for all of that stuff does that come internally, so from you guys as a unit, or is it stuff that you witness around you and that's what helps inspire those subjects for you?
I can sort of start this one, I guess.
Yeah.
So generally when I'm writing lyrics, it tends to be kind of close to me. So it's something I have experienced. But when I do write, I try to... So I might write something down and then go, oh, maybe that's a bit too kind of obvious. Like,
right.
You know, if I'm saying, I hate you, Richard, or something like that, you know, I've got to change it, you know, slightly so it's not so obvious. So, yeah, I just try to make it so that when an outsider is listening to it, a fan's listening to it, they can sort of think, oh, okay, this song's about me or something, you know? So that's sort of my take on it. I don't know about the other guys.
Well, when we're writing lyrics, so just to give you an insight into that, so Pete does a huge portion of the lyric writing. He's gifted in that department, so he'll come in with like a chunk of lyrics, and then I'll usually be like, no, that's shit, that's rubbish. No, I'm kidding. You know, I'll we veto a few things, but it's all, you know, it's all friendly. But there has been a few times where we have sat down with a fresh page and kind of gone, well, what do we want this song to be about? And sometimes we've finished the song musically, and we're kind of going, oh, you know, we're playing a chorus on repeat and like both writing stuff on our phones and stuff, and then something will pop out, and then Pete will kind of jump in the booth and we'll like get that down, and we'll go, oh, maybe we'll change this word here or this word here. And then we kind of, if it works out so well, but we still don't really know what the song's going to be about, that then helps us form what the rest of the song's going to be about, or we just make it up to make it fit.
That's fair.
So yeah, it's I assume it's very much like a lot of bands do it. There is definitely meaning behind the songs, but I don't think it's so obvious that other people can't find their own meanings within it. Well, apart from the last song on our EP, which is called Get Fucked. So that's pretty obvious.
I mean, yeah, that's quite on the nose. Do you mind either or? So for example, you know, would you prefer fans be able to directly understand the message that you're relaying in the song? Or do you just prefer the idea or enjoy the idea of people getting their own stories from it, even if it's nothing to do with what you originally wrote?
Me personally, I prefer the listener to sort of, you know, kind of make their own idea of what it's about. Because if it is a really personal thing to me, I don't really want that, you know, to air my laundry, as they say, you know. So yeah, if someone listens to it and, you know, relates it to a situation that's happened to them in their lives, then I feel like that's kind of the best result, really, if it helps them, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I think a good thing that if we can achieve, you know, when you would listen to songs on the radio and you'd sing along to them, but you get all the words wrong. Yeah. Because you don't actually know what they are. I think we would have achieved something quite great if someone is singing along to our songs with the wrong words, but it makes sense to them. That would be quite a nice thing. And if people want to know what the song's about, they just have to ask us. And chances are I'll make up a different story every time.
So what about reaction to the new music so far? How have you found it? Has it been pretty much positive? It seems to be just a general searching around through the social medias and comments and stuff like that on the single released and so on. It seems like people are digging it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know I keep going back to Lust, but that's my only real reference point for this band. We did not get negative. Most of Lust was positive. There was a few that were negative, but only elements of it. But I've not seen any of that so far for this EP. It has all been very, you know, thumbs up. One of the reviews we got recently, I keep forgetting what the name of it is, but they gave us 9 out of 10. So I mean, that's pretty good. You can't really do too much better than that, obviously, other than the extra one of having 10 out of 10. But
I think previously they gave us like a 5 or 6 for the Lust as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a clear progression. You know, scores are arbitrary, of course, but it's always a good barometer. And even in 2021, you still scroll down and you look for that score. So well done on that front.
Yeah. I mean, when Pete and I first started, we basically, one of the things that we wanted in the band, which was like one of the defining factors why we started, is we wanted to write music that was just super catchy. Yeah. Where, like, you know, earworm its way in. And while Lust had a lot of them, I feel like the new EP has a lot more hooks and it's a lot more kind of sing-alongable, if that's a word.
Yeah, we definitely struggled to choose the single, I think, didn't we? Obviously, we couldn't exactly choose Get Fucked for obvious reasons. But yeah, we definitely did think, this one's like when each song comes back from Reese, we think that's definitely the single. And then another one comes, we go, no, actually that one's got to be the single. So that's a great problem to have, really, you know.
Yeah, and Looking In was actually one of the first songs that we'd written for this.
Yeah,
and it had sat on my computer almost for a year and a bit, and we were like, oh, that's probably not going to make the cut. And we were like, well, we've finished it now. Let's send it off to Reese and see what happens. And he sent it back, and we were like, well, that's the first single. Yeah. It's like, even we didn't know what was going to be the first single. It's like, it comes back. It's not that we thought it was a bad song. It's just because it was one of the first ones we'd written. We'd heard it so much. It wasn't as fresh or exciting for us until Reese kind of had a go at it.
But it's also that as we've developed our sound, Reese has kind of developed with us as well, because he's got more familiar with how we're writing. So he knows what works for our songs. So it's part of that as well.
That's incredible. And I mean, I guess another major positive problem to have is you guys are very difficult to pigeonhole. Obviously, in rock music, metal, and so on, we love to put our bands in their slots. You got to write a press release and say something. Yours just says that gorgeous word of alternative, which is a catch-all of everything. That doesn't... How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't know, alternative. I'm just trying to think of an alternative band now on the spot. I don't know. I like to think of us as rock pop. Has to be rock first, you know. But with pop elements. The alternative thing I see more as, I don't know, a kind of like the poppier side of Coheed and Cambria. You know, obviously they're very progressive with some of their stuff, but some of their stuff is also very poppy, so kind of alternative.
Yeah.
You know, that's I'm not really the biggest fan of the alternative tag, but you know, if someone wants to give it that, as long as they like the music, I couldn't give a shit what they call it. You know?
I sort of feel like alternative is as broad as rock music. Like saying alternative is like, what does that even mean? Pete's right though. I think pop rock or rock pop, whichever way around you want to say it. I mean, we were struggling to work out what we sounded like for a while. When we set up the Facebook page, our genre was music. Which Wayne made me change because he was like, that's really confusing. And I was like, well, it is, but I don't know what we would say. And then other than just saying we're a rock band, but then I think some people get the wrong idea of what a rock
think we sound
band
like
is.
AC/DC or something.
Yeah, maybe. And then you say, oh, we're a modern rock band. That sort of works a little bit better. It's just hard. I mean, again, people can make up their mind with it. We've had a few people say that we're like Linkin Park, so that's like emo-y. No, it's not nu metal. There we go. Which I don't see as much, but obviously there's probably elements there. You could probably find any element in the song you try. Yeah.
You're kind of stuck in that because no matter what band you are, people want to draw those parallels. You sound like so-and-so. You are in this genre. Considering you've got one debut, one album out, and obviously the EP coming out, I think we're still got plenty of time to find out your sound. For all we know, the next album could be death metal. Let's wait and see, right?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So, guys, you are obviously quite a modern band as well. So you're well versed for the modern trappings of being in a band, such as having to get constant content out, and of course, social media, be it Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr. I can't remember what else there is.
That's it. There's too many of them.
So many. Yeah. How do you find that? Is it something you enjoy doing, or is it just a necessary evil and part and parcel of being in a band these days?
It's so overwhelming. That you've got to. It's difficult to be as active on each platform as the other. I know there's all these kind of things now that you can upload to one thing and it goes across all of them.
Yeah.
But I haven't worked out how to use one of those yet. But like I say, there's just so many of them. Tumblr I forgot about. So
nobody uses Tumblr anymore.
This fucking TikTok.
Yes.
Like we kind of, well, two of us, me and Rome, want to be part of that, but we're like, oh, what do we post? We don't want to do some kind of dance or something. It kind of would, I don't know, sort of demean the band a little bit in my eyes, and I don't know. we're yet to work that bit out. Maybe we'll end up on TikTok, I don't know, but yeah, so generally social media, it's a sort of love-hate relationship, you know, because obviously you get to connect with your fans, which is great. And when sometimes we get messages come through and of people saying they love our music and stuff, which is really, really nice to hear, because, you know, we are nobodies at the moment, but we're obviously doing something right, because we are getting to people who, you know, who we never thought we'd be able to reach. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, I sort of feel that social media is ruining music, which is a bold statement, sort of a double-edged sword, because the less you do on one, the more you have to do to make up for it. If you have a week off of Facebook or Instagram, instantly the people who follow you don't see your stuff. Your reach drops. So you've got to you know, walk the fine line of always being in people's faces, but not to the stage where you annoy them, and not doing less. So more people will see you in the long run. I mean, you can have 10,000 people on your Facebook page, but if only 58 people see your posts because you're not paying Facebook to push it out, it sort of defeats the point.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's like, it sort of gives you that little serotonin boost when people click the old like button on some of your songs. So it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, but yeah, it has to be constantly maintained. Otherwise you just kind of drop off the face of the planet. There's bands that I was really into like a year or two ago, and I like them on, you know, social media platforms, and never seen any of their stuff anymore. It's not because they haven't been doing stuff. It's just because I've obviously fallen between the gaps of their reach net or whatever. So you kind of, yeah, exactly. You've got to just remember who they are. Then you actively search them again, and you'll see their stuff for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then again you'll fall off. It's super hard to kind of juggle all of that. And as Pete was saying, there's so many of them. It's hard to be consistent throughout, and to build a fan base. Like you can have a lot of fans on Facebook, but not many on Instagram, or you can have loads on Twitter, but your YouTube views are down. And you sort of, if you want to impress the right people in the industry, if you want to sign to a big label or get a manager interested, you kind of have to have everything under control before they even come on. And it's like years worth of work to try and manage that.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do that in months rather than years, because who has years to waste?
Yeah, balancing or not even balancing, cracking the algorithms of these things and how they work. There's the problem.
Yeah.
That word, algorithm. Oh.
So guys, what's going on in the Dohny Jep camp right now? You're making lots of plans for 2021, or is it simply we're waiting to see what happens, as is pretty much the case?
We are writing for album 3 at the moment.
Wow.
We've got a year packed full of music, got 4 EPs coming out this year. So yeah, a year full of music, but you know, why not keep writing? So
did I hear that correctly? 4 EPs
this
year.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we've told anyone yet. Our label might be annoyed. But yeah, 4.
Yeah, a year full of music, because we've been locked away, you know. And Stuart and I live together, so pretty much every evening we're like, let's write a song, you know. So that's sort of still going on. Tonight we're filming a music video, or part of a music video, which is going to be due out in the summer sometime. So yeah, that's, you know, exciting. So yeah, we're so active. That's what I love about this band, compared to previous ones. We're so active. We're always doing stuff, be it photography. Like I do our photography and our videos. I film all of that. So we've always got that sort of stuff going on. So yeah, like we're lucky in that respect that we haven't got to fork out, you know, for all that sort of content. Because some bands, you know, would have to do something and then use it over months and months to, you know, absolutely milk it, you know. But we can use stuff very kind of nonchalantly, really.
That's awesome. All right, guys, finally, I have to ask this. All bands want to have an attention-grabbing thing,
be it a song, a video, go viral, in a TikTok video, a title, or a name? Now, normally we would avoid this kind of question because it's like, oh, tell us how you got your name. But let's be honest, your one is going to constantly come up. And you're probably going to be answering this question for the next couple of years, I imagine, till everybody knows. Okay. What on earth is the deal with your name? Who came up with that and why?
Stuart, come on.
Yeah. So, like 10 years ago, I was writing with one of my old uni mates, and we were trying to find band names. And I thought, it's basically a spoonerism where you just replace the letters, but we spelled it a little bit differently. So I had this idea. I can't remember where I got the idea from, and I must have spent days writing down people's names of famous people and seeing what it looked like, swapping them around. And Dohny Jep was the best one, I felt, out of the ones. I mean, I've heard a few since then that are quite good, but I feel Dohny Jep is sort of people have to do a double take just to see if we've said it wrong. Yeah. It is getting to the stage now where I can't remember to say Johnny Depp's name properly. I mean, to us, he's the back burner for us now. We're Dohny Jep, and hopefully we can someday be more famous than him, and people will get his name confused. But I doubt it'll happen anytime soon. But yeah, it was sort of like just one of those things. I kind of sat on that name for years because there's never a project that I had that I was like, that's the right name for this project. And when we were writing the first album, because we'd written a bunch of the songs before we even had a name, we didn't set up any of our social medias until we had music to put out as well. So we sort of wanted to hit the ground running with it. We were just kind of thinking of names, and I just suddenly remembered that one name. And then Pete was like, yep, that's the name. It was like, within 5 minutes we had decided. Yeah. And then we played around a little bit with the spelling of it. We had a few variants, but we decided on the one that we currently have. Because it's spelt like that, obviously, if you can spell it right, it means that we're the only thing that pops up on Google, I think, if you type it in.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even get the did you mean this?
No. Because of our
PR there is one thing, which is Dohny Jeep.
Oh,
which I think is like an American Jeep brand or something. But luckily we're music, we're not selling Jeeps, so can't.
I also, I looked not that long ago and I couldn't see that one, but I think the amount of reviews and stuff we had on the first album and this EP, it sort of just like flooded it a little bit. I mean, there's still only probably 50 pages there of things you can click on, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, that's a unique search for us.
You are about unique in that sense. And dear God, should you grow to an immense size and become the name that people associate, you might get the odd cease and desist letter through the post, I guess.
I'll just give him a couple of quid and he can join the band.
Yeah.
Oh God, of course, he'd love it. Yeah, you're right. Fellas, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
No problem. It's been good.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?